right, welcome everyone. Can I kindly ask you to take your seats? We are about to start your opening ceremony. I'm only here for a couple of technical announcements, as usual. The first technical announcement is I see a lot of phones out there. We encourage you to keep your phones away. The ceremony is being recorded and live. You might be shown on the YouTube Live, and you will have access to the recording afterwards, so you don't need to record or take photos, so please keep your phone away. We are going to be together for about an hour and a half. You are very welcome afterwards to also post on social media about the ceremony. The team, as usual, will share photos right after. And that's pretty much it. I wish you a good ceremony, and I already invite the first musician on stage. Enjoy.
What a wonderful way to start our ceremony. I'm always very impressed to see the talent that our students have, not only in studies, but also in arts. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the academic year 25-26 of the College of Europe here in Bruges. It's an honor for me, a pleasure to welcome you all, students, faculty, staff, guests, and our very special guest, Kaja KALLAS, my dear Kaja, the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy of the European Union and Vice President of the European Commission, the person with the longest title that nobody can ever remember. I guess I have had some training for that. It is really a pleasure having you here. I admire enormously the way in which you are carrying out this very difficult job in the most difficult time that Europe has known since the start of the integration process, and very honored to have you here with us today. I think we're all looking forward to hearing your address. I'm very pleased that you accepted our invitation. I'm also very thankful to your team, among which one is an alumnus, so welcome back, that made the magic of making this happen. There is an alumnus of the College of Europe a little bit everywhere, anywhere in the European institutions, so it's good. And for sure, the question that the students would have for you would be, in which residence were you? Of course, you will tell secretly afterwards. I was very impressed when coming here this morning, thinking this is going to be the very first time that during an opening ceremony of the College of Europe, the keynote speech will be delivered by the HRVP. Most of the HRVPs were in Bruges for different speeches and different events. Solana, at the time, 2005, I think, was here to deliver a keynote speech at the opening ceremony, but it's the first time that the HRVP delivers a keynote speech at the opening. So I hope we are setting a tradition here, and that all other HRVPs after you, and you whenever you want to come back, of course, will be part of the institutional presence that we are always honored and blessed to have here in Bruges for this important day when we somehow officially open our academic year, even if you have been studying now for more than a month, I know. It is also the very first time that the College of Europe has a Ukrainian patron. We are, this year, our patron de promotion is Victoria Amelina, an inspiring, incredible woman. I was looking at her writings again in the last days, and I was thinking of maybe suggesting you a few quotes, but then I realized that her working with words, and so beautifully and so impactfully, actually I would actually recommend you to read all her works, at least those that have been translated, because all of the quotes are impressive. But it's the first time that we have a Ukrainian patron in the college history. Sadly, this is coming in a moment where Ukraine is facing a brutal aggression from Russia. But I think that having Victoria as our patron de promotion is much more than a sign of solidarity with Ukraine. And here I would like to thank and welcome all our Ukrainian students, diplomats, and the Ukrainian ambassador to the European Union that is here with us. Having Victoria as a patron is not only a sign of solidarity, it's also, I believe, a clear statement, a clear acknowledgement of the fact that whatever happens in Ukraine, to Ukraine, whatever Ukraine does in the present and in the future, is integral part of the European trajectory. There is no European present and future without a Ukrainian European present and future. And it was time for the College of Europe to have this symbolized in having a patron like her. That was also an amazing, impressive young lady that I think has a word for each of us in her writings. It is also the very first time, and then I'll finish with first times and give the floor to others. It is also the first time that our opening ceremony is organized jointly, of course, with all the departments, all the students here, but also with the European Union Diplomatic Academy and with the diplomatic program for the Enlargement Region. Here, the personality, the profile of the keynote speaker made the magic, as of course these are programs that are done under the leadership of the External Action Service. And I think it is also very appropriate as we are celebrating a figure like Victoria Amelina and again our work to support Ukraine, which is something that of course the European diplomacy is very much dedicated to. So we have some novelties this year that we are very much looking forward to celebrate, but also we are having very traditional but important elements of our programs, like, of course, your musical interludes, but also the speeches from the student representatives, and again, this time, the representatives of the diplomatic programs. With that, I would wish you all a very wonderful opening ceremony. Thanking again all of you for being here, Kaja for being present, honoring us with that, the mayor, as usual, for being with us and hosting us, representing this beautiful city that hosts the college now for decades. And with that, I would pass the floor to the president of our Administrative Council, Herman Van Rompuy. Please, Herman, you have the floor.
Madam High Representative, Madam Rector, Mr. Mayor, professors, ladies and gentlemen, and dear students. When considering what to share with you this morning, I wanted to convey a message of hope. Much has already been said about how we live in a dangerous world, that there have never been so many conflicts since 1946, that the unthinkable is becoming conceivable, that we must expect the unexpected. I myself have also often repeated this narrative. And yet we must not give in to fatalism. History teaches us that there are also positive surprises. 35 years ago, the seemingly invincible Soviet Union collapsed without a single shot being fired. And the current EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy comes from a country that made the transition from the Soviet Union to the European Union. The empire of lies went up in smoke. Even today, no regime in any country is eternal. But change didn't happen by itself. Back then, millions of people protested peacefully or formed human chains until the Iron Curtain came down. And the patron of this academic year was a courageous Ukrainian woman from a courageous people. They are fighting not only for their independence and territorial integrity, but mainly for values. Russia tries to present it as a conflict between Eastern and Western civilization. But in fact, it is a struggle between the opposite of civilization and civilization itself, between inhumanity and humanity. And that is why we Europeans stand by the side of the Ukrainian people morally and materially. Yes, there are just wars when people fight against inhumanity. And I'm convinced that, as the great Dutch poet once said, that the gentle forces ultimately will prevail. De zachte krachten zullen zeker winnen in the end. In the United States, millions of people are taking to the streets to preserve the legacy of democracy and the rule of law, to uphold values such as truth and respect. And the most beautiful revolution is that of the moderates who radically oppose extremism and enemy thinking. The College of Europe was founded 75 years ago as a bastion of values that have made the best version of Europe great. Europe has suffered enough from power politics, feelings of superiority, the law of the strongest, the law of the jungle. And that's why we do not want to return to the tragedy of history. The European Union has no nostalgia for the time when some member states were world powers. Those who want to become great actually want to make others small. The Union is a break in the history of our continent. And throughout the negotiations in the European Council, through the trials and tribulations of seeking agreements and compromises, through the ups and downs, we must not lose sight of the greater goal, nor forget what we already have done to build our democracy and our welfare states. We are not in decline, but those who wage wars and commit genocide are. The teachings, dear students, we offer you in Bruges and Natolin, and now also in Tirana, is not only intended to share knowledge, but also to instill in you the ideals that will make you good citizens and better human beings. But in addition, you have an unforgettable year ahead of you, spending a year together with peers from almost 50 countries. Together, the most beautiful word in the vocabulary of any language. It is an adventure that we already know will have a happy ending. I wish you every happiness and success. That is all I have to wish and say to you on this windy morning of autumn 2025. Au revoir. Merci.
Madam Kaja KALLAS, High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Mr. Herman van Rompuy, President of the Board of the College of Europe, Madam Rector Federica Mogherini, Rector of the College of Europe, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, dear friends, I can say. Let me first address me to the students, because I have to apologize me. I have to apologize. I have to apologize for a very important meeting, un rendezvous très important. I had an appointment with you all on Monday, the 6th of October, at the City Hall of the traditional welcoming reception, complete with the usual photos and, most importantly, toasting with the Bruxelles. The rector was excused due to illness, and I was involved in the final stage of negotiations regarding the city's finance, and I simply couldn't leave the table. I hope for your understanding. Later that same evening, I saw that you had indeed found yourself in large numbers at the Bar des Amis on the Eiermarkt. I solemnly promise to be there at the end of the academic year. In the meantime, I would like to invite you, already those who are here, at the 4th of January. Then we have our New Year's reception at the Burg at 11 o'clock. You are, as citizens for 1 year, very welcome to that event. Drinks and fries, Belgian fries, are for free. But today, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me and a pleasure to welcome you all in Bruges for the opening for a new academic year of the College of Europe, a year that carries the proud name of the Victoria Amelina Promotion. Each year, this ceremony marks not only the beginning of new studies, but also a renewal of hope. Hope in dialogue, understanding and cooperation between nations. Today, that hope feels more necessary than ever. Around the world, conflicts continue to remind us of the fragility of peace. We cannot look away from the war in several countries, like Israel, Gaza region, Congo, and today especially Ukraine. All these wars are testing our shared humanity. It is therefore deeply moving that this year's promotion honors Victoria Amelina, a brilliant Ukrainian writer and human rights defender. Her life and her words remind us that culture, courage, and compassion are also acts of resistance. Her legacy calls upon all of us, especially those who study here, to use knowledge not as a shield, but as a bridge. Just last year, Europe marked 80 years since the Second World War, one of the darkest chapters in human history. Here in Bruges and across our continent, we commemorated those who suffered and those who fought for freedom. It is our moral duty never to forget what war does to people, to cities, and to humanity itself. Remembering the past is not an act of nostalgia, it is a commitment to peace. And that is where diplomacy comes in. Diplomacy remains our most powerful and civilized instrument to prevent conflict, to build trust, and to sustain peace. In a world where dialogue is too often replaced by confrontation, the work and learning you do here could not be more important. For more than 70 years, the College of Europe has stood as a beacon at that ideal. Here in Bruges, generations of young Europeans and students from across the world have prepared to serve the common good through dialogue and diplomacy. As mayor of the city of Bruges, I can say to be proud that our city remains deeply honored to be the home of the institution. For centuries, Bruges has been a place where people of different nations, languages, and beliefs have met, traded, and lived together. It is our very nature to welcome the world with open arms. Bruges is often described as a city of history, and indeed, our heritage surrounds us at every turn. Walking through our streets feels like walking through the pages of Europe's past, a place where merchants, scholars and artists once gathered to exchange goods, ideas and inspiration. In medieval times, Bruges was one of the great ports of the world, a hub where ships brought treasures and innovations from far beyond European borders. But Bruges is not only a city of the past. We are also a city with our eyes firmly set on the future. Today, through the port of Antwerp-Bruges, we remain part of the world's great network of trade and innovation. Our port has the ambition to become a sustainable, climate-neutral port by 2550, leading the way towards a greener economy. It is also a pioneer on the hydrogen revolution, positioning itself as Europe's leading import hub for green hydrogen and a vital step towards a carbon-free future. Bruges is also a student city, vibrant and full of life. You will find everything you need, from libraries and cozy cafes to cultural venues and green spaces, all within walking or cycling distance. That is one of Bruges' greatest advantages. We are a small city, but with all the facilities and quality of life of a much larger one. And of course, Bruges is also a city of culture, from performances at our city theatre and concerts at the Cactus Music Centre to the world-class event in this concert hall. There is always something to inspire or to experience. Our museums hold both timeless masterpieces, including those of the Flemish primitives, and striking works of contemporary art. And in May 2026, our brand new hall, the Brusque, will be open, and our brand new state-of-the-art hall where exhibitions from all over the world will find a home here in Bruges. So you can see, Bruges is a city of a world heritage and a city of all times, a place where history meets modernity and where tradition walks hand in hand with progress. And above all, Bruges is a home for citizens, for visitors, and for all of you, the students of the College of Europe. May this academic year be one of learning, friendship, and purpose. May you find in this city the peace to study, and in this college the inspiration to serve. And I am sure you will find here in this romantic city friends for the rest of your life. I wish you an unforgettable year. Je vous souhaite une année inoubliable. Ik wens jullie een onvergetelijk jaar toe. Dank u wel. Thank you.
Dear High Representative Kallas, dear President Van Rompuy, dear Mayor Defoe, dear Rector Mogherini, distinguished guests, and dear students of the Victoria Amelina Promotion, I am happy to address you today from Natolin on this special occasion, marking the opening of the new academic year. The College of Europe is one of the strongest academic institutions, characterized by its commitment to European affairs and the pursuit of knowledge that transcends borders. At Natolin, we have been engaging with issues shaping the future of Europe, its security, as well as the transformations in the European Union's neighborhoods. Together with Bruges and our new campus in Tirana, we contribute in different yet complementary ways to the European story. Each campus adds its own perspective, its own experience, its own voice. Dear students, I have no doubt that each of you will seize the opportunities before you, not just to deepen your knowledge, but to develop the skills while remaining faithful to values. This year, you will test your capacity to listen, to debate, and to cooperate despite differences. You are now becoming part of a remarkable tradition, one that has shaped generations of policymakers and thinkers. It is a tradition that fosters not just academic excellence, but a profound sense of responsibility for and to the European ideal. As you embark on this journey, I encourage you to embrace the challenges, seize the opportunities, and engage fully with the experiences that lie ahead. I wish you all the best for a successful and fulfilling academic year. Thank you.
It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals, because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet, I keep them, because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. Despite all the darkness endured by the author of these words, Anne Frank carried within her a bright beacon of light. Those who have faced hardship often discover deep strengths within themselves, compassion, resilience, and the quiet force to do good. Europe's past has been marked by wars and sacrifice, yet from the pain emerged the realization of our shared ideals. We must defend them fiercely, following the example of Victoria Amelina, who embodies the courage we all aspire to. Europe isn't created as one piece, but for peace. And so we should all pause and remember, regardless our status, age, nationality, or experience, why we are all in this room together. It is my honor to welcome High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President Kaja KALLAS, Mayor Defoe, President Van Rompuy, Rector Mogherini, and all of us, the professors, staff members, guests, and us, the students. It is a true pleasure to greet you all here in Bruges. Et qu'est-ce que l'Europe pour chacun de nous alors? Des institutions, des procédures, Bruxelles, les États membres, mais avant tout, l'Europe, c'est nous. Nous sommes l'union d'êtres humains. Car les idées et les valeurs européennes, elles ne vivent pas dans les institutions, mais dans celles et ceux qui les portent, les défendent et les incarnent dans leur quotidien. Et qu'est-ce qui fait de nous des êtres véritablement humains? C'est de se tendre la main dans les temps sombres mais aussi clairs, où la force et la bienveillance brillent. Aujourd'hui, dans un monde parfois dominé par la vanité et la poursuite égoïste de ses passions, la compassion et la solidarité deviennent rares. Pourtant, ce sont elles qui constituent le fondement même de l'humanité et de l'esprit de l'Europe. As we gather here to open a new academic year, let us remember that what makes our community truly beautiful is not perfection, but perseverance. It is the courage to keep believing in humanity and the will to transform hardship into wisdom. In this, we embody the very spirit of the European Union here at the college, and even more so when we leave it.
Madame la rectrice, Madame la haute représentante, Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le maire, chers amis. Quand je regarde cette magnifique assemblée du Collège d'Europe devant moi aujourd'hui, je ne vois pas la Commission, je ne vois pas le Parlement, je ne vois même pas le Conseil de l'Union européenne, ni le Conseil européen, ni aucun autre organe, au nom parfois étrange de notre Union. Mais je vois l'Europe. Je vois des Européennes et des Européens fidèles et attachés à nos valeurs communes, la paix, la liberté, la justice et l'état de droit. It's sometimes easy to believe that we've always had our values, but of course we know that's not true. War, colonialism, and for a time fascism were once European values. Twisted interpretations of being European that brought our continent to its knees and very nearly destroyed it. We have an obligation, a duty as Europeans to ensure our values are never twisted. And in an increasingly volatile and turbulent global environment, that means acknowledging that peace must be pursued, that workers must be safeguarded, and that oppressed people must be protected regardless of our relations with the oppressor. Because, my friends, if we do not apply our values with honesty and consistency in every context, then why have values? And that's where we come in. All of us young Europeans, both inside and outside this hall. As we embark on this College of Europe journey here today together, we must remember to stand firm unapologetically, to persevere, and to refuse to be the generation that allows Europe to fall backwards. Our continent and our world are counting on us. Let us prove worthy of that trust. Es lebe Europa, vive l'Europe, long live Europe. Thank you.
High Representative and Vice President Kallas, Madam Rector Mogherini, President Van Rompuy, Mayor Defoe, distinguished professors, dear students, colleagues and friends. It is a great honor to stand before you today, representing fellow diplomats and colleagues from the European Union Diplomatic Academy at the opening of another academic year at the College of Europe, an institution which for decades has shaped generations of Europeans who believe not only in the European project, but in the promise of dialogue, diplomacy, and peace. When we gather here today, we are not only marking the beginning of studies or a new professional chapter, we are reaffirming something much deeper. A shared conviction that Europe is not merely a geographic space or an institutional framework. Europe is above all a human endeavour. It is the story of people, of ideas, of courage and compassion. It is the story of citizens who, after centuries of division, dared to imagine cooperation. Of diplomats who replaced the language of power with the power of language. Of students like those gathered here today, who chose curiosity over indifference and understanding over fear. Europe is a human endeavour because it is ultimately about people choosing hope, again and again, in the face of uncertainty. Progress is not automatic. It is the result of countless individuals who decide each day to cooperate rather than compete, to listen rather than speak, and to build rather than break. As a diplomat within the European Union Diplomatic Academy, and as a proud Maltese, I experience this on a daily basis. Coming from a small island nation at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, I have been able to see how even the smallest of member states can foster dialogue, build bridges, and contribute to Europe's collective strength. Malta is a reminder that size does not limit ambition or impact, and that every voice matters in shaping Europe's future. Today, our values are being tested on a daily basis. We, as Europe, face war on our continent, instability in our immediate neighbourhood, and global challenges that no nation can tackle alone. Challenges such as climate change, digital transformation, inequality, and disinformation, just to mention a few. In this effort, Europe seeks to enhance its relations with partners around the world whose commitment to dialogue and regional cooperation reflects the same conviction that unity is strength. Yet in the midst of uncertainty, the European Union stands as a remarkable testament to what cooperation can achieve. Europe's unity was not born out of uniformity, but through diversity harnessed towards a common purpose. The EU was never meant to eradicate our differences. It was built to make them meaningful and to transform diversity into one of its biggest strengths. For those beginning your journey at the College of Europe, you are entering a community that mirrors the best of Europe's spirit. Here, as we diplomats have done, you will debate and disagree with one another. You will learn to listen. And in doing so, you will discover what it really means to be European. The international community is watching Europe closely. It looks to us for steadiness, in certain aspects, leadership, and for the quiet courage to uphold our principles and values when it would be easier to stay silent. That courage, whether in diplomacy, politics, or academia, begins with individuals like us. In our profession as diplomats, progress is rarely dramatic. It happens in the margins, in the careful phrasing of a communiqué, in the respectful pause before a response, in the silent understanding between counterparts who may never fully agree, but who know that peace is worth the effort. Diplomacy is often called the art of the possible. However, in Europe, it is also the art of making the impossible possible, of turning centuries of conflict and war into decades of prosperity and cooperation. As we open this academic year, let us carry that spirit forward. The future of Europe will not be written by those who shout the loudest, but by those who listen the most carefully. And that is what each of us, as citizens, students, and diplomats, are called to do. To the new students, may your studies inspire you to navigate complexity with wisdom, to embrace dialogue with courage, and to contribute to a Europe that is united in purpose and values. To my fellow diplomats and colleagues, may we never lose sight of why we serve. Not for power, but for peace. Not for recognition, but for the quiet satisfaction of having made cooperation and understanding possible. And to the rest of us gathered here today, may this academic year remind us that in an uncertain world, Europe's greatest strength remains its unity, with diplomacy as its most noble expression. Thank you and good luck.
Dear Ms. High Representative and Vice President Kaja Kallas, dear Madam Rector Federica Mogherini, dear President Herman Van Rompuy, and dear Mayor Defoe. Dear guests, students, and colleagues, my name is Valeria Sharapova from Ukraine, and it is a great honor to address you today at the opening ceremony of the Victoria Amelina Promotion on behalf of all participants of the European Union diplomatic program for the Enlargement Region. This academic year is named after Victoria Amelina, a poet, a human rights defender, and a woman who paid with her life for unwavering commitment to democracy and freedom. Her life and work remind us that Europe is not only a geography, It is a moral commitment, a space of values that should be protected through courage, resilience, and truth. As a Ukrainian citizen and as a woman, it is particularly meaningful for me to speak at the opening of this academic year dedicated to her name. Taking part in the European Union diplomatic program for the Enlargement Region is not only a valuable step in my professional journey, it carries a deeper personal meaning. It symbolizes belonging to Europe, the great peace project we look to and aspire to join. As a young professional living and working in a country torn by war for past 3.5 years, the opportunity means hope. Hope that change is possible. Hope that we will soon return to our homes, to dreaming freely and to planning our futures. Hope that our home will once again become safe and peaceful space, and the light will triumph over darkness. The European Union diplomatic program for the Enlargement Region, organized by the College of Europe, stands as a bridge between the Enlargement Region and the European diplomatic community. Through this program, we, junior officials and diplomats from Ukraine, Moldova, Turkey, North Macedonia, and Albania, come together to learn, to exchange perspectives, and to shape a shared vision of Europe's future. Its purpose is to foster regional cooperation to build a common esprit de corps with our peers from Europe, strengthening our knowledge, but also our sense of shared destiny. Here, at the College of Europe, we join the long tradition of learning not only about the Union's institutions and policies, but about the spirit of cooperation that sustains them. Our path towards the European Union is not only about aligning laws, acquis, and standards. It is a journey of belonging to a community values: democracy, rule of law, and human dignity. Victoria Amelina's voice reminds us that defending these values in times of peace or in times of struggle defines what it means to be European. As participants, we understand that we are not only beneficiaries of this program, but partners in shaping our common European future. We carry the responsibility to turn knowledge into action and learning into service, to strengthen both our institutions and the collective resilience of our region. On behalf of all participants of this second edition, I wish to express our sincere gratitude to the College of Europe, to the European Commission, and to all those who made this initiative possible. Your commitment to fostering cooperation in our region gives us not only skills, but also purpose. We look forward to the months ahead of study, of dialogue, and of friendship, and to contributing to the spirit of European diplomacy that unites our states. May the Victoria Amelina Promotion remind us that diplomacy, like literature, has the power to preserve truth, build bridges, and bring hope. Thank you.
Dear Bruges community, greetings from Natolin. It's a real pleasure to send you our warmest wishes as you begin your journey at the College of Europe. Even though we're hundreds of kilometers apart, the spirit that connects our campuses is the same: curiosity, friendship, and shared belief in the European project.
Here in Natolin, we've already discovered how unique this experience is. It's demanding, but it's also deeply rewarding. Every day brings something new. A debate that challenges your thinking, a lecture that opens new perspective, or a late-night conversation that turns into a lifelong friendship.
We are sure that you already noticed how the college is not just a place to study. It's a community that encourages you to grow, to question, and to engage with the world around you. It's about learning from one another and realizing that European affairs are as much as about people as about policies.
We will be delighted to welcome you soon in Natolin, so you can discover our campus, its spaces, and especially its community.
And of course, we are already preparing to host you for a friendly football match. Friendly until the first goal is scored.
As you begin this new chapter, we hope you will embrace every moment, the challenges as much as the celebrations. From all of us here in Natolin, we wish you courage, passion, and countless unforgettable memories. Good luck, Bruges.
And welcome to the adventure of the College of Europe.
See you soon.
Bonjour, Dobar dan, Mirdita from Tirana, the newest home of the College of Europe. It's my honor to speak to you today on behalf of my fellow cohort as part of the second generation of this growing and vibrant community. Whether in Bruges, Natolin, or Tirana, we are all connected. Each campus may have its own rhythm and surroundings, but we're part of the same conversation, one that spans borders, generations, and ideas about what Europe can become. Bruges represents the roots of the college, steeped in history at the heart of the European Union, where generations of alumni have helped shape policy, diplomacy, and dialogue across the continent. Natolin reflects the college's eastward vision, a place of reflection on Europe's complex past and its evolving purpose in multiple dimensions. Tirana, meanwhile, symbolizes the future, dynamic, ambitious, and a testament to the transformative power of European integration. To study at the College of Europe is to witness Europe not as a finished project, but as a promise still unfolding. Together, our campuses reflect a Europe in motion. As students of the College of Europe, we are more than observers. We will together shape the future of our continent, whether we become diplomats, politicians, or drivers of civil society. This year, our academic journey is guided by the legacy of Victoria Amelina, a writer, a brave defender of human rights, a woman who fought for justice. Her life reminds us that the values enshrined in our European project are not guaranteed. They must be defended, renewed, and reimagined by every generation. May her legacy inspire us as we set forth on our path. To all of you starting out in Bruges, enjoy every moment, stay curious, and don't be afraid to challenge ideas. Let us live up to the values that brought us here. We're cheering you on from Tirana, where you can always expect a warm welcome. We look forward to seeing you soon, and the best is yet to come.
Good morning, everyone. This song is an original piece composed by us, Ryan, Lucas, and myself. It's called The Lighthouse, and it was inspired by Louis Weiss's speech at the European Parliament in 1979, which said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the deputies, you hold the spark, turn on the lighthouses again." Once my grandma said, they turn on the light on that big old lighthouse on the western side. She said they built it high so the lights could find a glimmer through the night when the world goes blind. Now the winds are rising, the shores are low, but the lights still burn and we have to keep it alive. Shadow home and they're from the west side. They're singing songs along, but we can't hear that. Fire grows on the coast of the east side. If we don't face our own, we'll pay the price. Once my grandpa said that I don't have to turn it on again, just give it a lie. He said twist in the storms, we pay the price. Your fight must be to guard what we sacrificed. Shadow home and they're from the west side. They're singing songs along, but we can't hear that. Fire grows on the coast of the east side. If we don't face on, we'll pay the price. We still love our stars, we shall let them shine.
Your Excellency, High Representative Kallas, Director Mogherini, Mayor Defau, President Van Rompuy, members of the administrative staff, members of the faculty, friends, and colleagues. When our keynote speaker was just 12 years old, her parents took the very rare opportunity in Soviet-occupied Estonia of traveling with her and her brother to Eastern Germany. Standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate, her father, Ms Kallas, told them, "Children, breathe in deeply, because that's the air of freedom that comes from the other side." Like all the teenagers of her generation, High Representative Kallas understands better than anyone the hope that rests in a united, liberal, and democratic Europe, and the need to protect it in an increasingly autocratic world. For those of us currently studying at this college, concepts like the Iron Curtain can sometimes feel like relics of the past, frozen in the history books. But not to the brave generations that have preceded us, like the High Representative's own grandparents, who survived being outrageously deported to a gulag in Siberia when her mother was just a 6-month-old baby. We must never forget those who struggled against tyranny, and those whose entire life choices were taken away. Their sacrifice must serve as an inspiration for what to fight for and what to stand against. Our ability to freely work towards our own personal aspirations is, unfortunately, far from being the global norm. It is a hard-fought privilege that, until very recently, we have perhaps taken too much for granted. Less than 40 years ago, our chances of connecting with among Western, Central, and Eastern Europeans, whether here in Bruges, during our Erasmus, or throughout any other avenue of life, would have been extremely low. Today, High Representative Kallas represents, in the name of the European Union, that very same air of freedom that her father spoke of in 1989 to our neighboring brothers and sisters fighting for their sovereignty in Ukraine. Even before the illegal annexation of Crimea, High Representative Kallas has always used her voice to warn about the dangers of imperialistic ambitions and has consistently opposed the ensuing full-scale war of aggression, which, among many other innocent and courageous souls, took the life of our patron de promotion, Victoria Amelina. As a member of the European Parliament between 2014 and 2018, when she served as Vice Chair of the delegation to the EU-Ukraine Parliamentary Association Committee, she repeatedly favored proposals that reduced Europe's external energy dependencies. And using her background as a competition lawyer, she became a strong advocate for smoothing out the digital single market. During her tenure as Estonia's first female Prime Minister, her government became the world's largest contributor relative to its GDP of humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine. And at a crucial moment for the transatlantic alliance, Prime Minister Kallas became an example of commitment to NATO, exceeding the expenditure goals at the time and increasing military presence in the Baltics. And in this case, I guess being included in Russia's most wanted list means that you are on the right side of history. As the current High Representative for the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, she is steadfastly leading the Union's defense towards Readiness 2030, defending our airspace and fostering the European Union's global presence, creating vital security agreements with like-minded allies. Madam High Representative, we understand the mission that history has tasked you with, safeguarding the integrity of Europe and the values that makes us unique against those who fear our democratic way of life. That purpose goes hand in hand with the survival of Ukraine, and thanks to your leadership, the European Union is the biggest supporter of their strive for liberty. You received this hopeful vision from your father, and now you're passing it on to us. In this College of Europe, you will find a new generation ready to pick up the baton with conviction in their hearts to represent that air of freedom that today is the European Union. Everyone, please give a very warm welcome to Kaja KALLAS.
Director Mogherini, Federica, dear President Van Rompuy, dear Mayor Defoe, dear professors, staff members, guests, and most of all, dear students and young diplomats. It is my pleasure to speak at the opening ceremony of your academic year for the College of Europe and for the European Diplomatic Academy, which the college hosts. If the College of Europe did not already exist, we would have to invent it. Your offer is unmatched in our continent. Strong academic courses on 3 campuses, each with its own distinct academic and strategic identity. This has become one of your most important drawing points. Bruges, with its focus on the European law, politics and economics of internal integration. Tirana for enlargement and Western Balkans or future integration. And Natolin, with its strength in the neighborhood, security and geopolitics, external strategy. What the 3 have in common is quality of the programs, of instruction, of the students. The European Union is proud to co-fund the college and to locate our own diplomatic academy within its walls. So first, let me congratulate the rector, the 2 vice rectors, and the board for a job well done over the years. So I believe that applause would be appropriate. I'm honored to speak today and really to have been invited at this opening precisely this year, and for two reasons. First, because it gives me the opportunity to pay homage to the fearless, gifted and compassionate woman, Victoria Amelina, after whom this year's promotion takes its name. And second, because this is also a chance to talk about a subject close to my heart, notably the importance of the international law, especially here in Europe and especially now. Victoria Amelina was an award-winning writer from the start of her literary career, before Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Amelina penned 2 novels and 1 children's book. But when the war began, her life took a radical turn. In her book, Looking at Women, Looking at War, she tells of her transformation from a novelist to a documentalist, and I quote, "I've done this to uncover the truth, to ensure the survival of memory, and to give justice and lasting peace a chance." End of quote. While some of her friends joined the army or trained as medics, Amelina joined an NGO called the Truth Hounds that gathered evidence of war crimes. She wanted to do her bit for her country the best way she knew how. She wrote, and I quote, "And what weapon do we choose to pursue justice in the hardest times? A laptop, a camera, international law, storytelling power, or an M777 howitzer? No choice made by those who want true justice is easy, and for most of us, the outcome of our battle is still unknown." The end of quote. Amelina wrote these words sometimes in 2022. We know now the outcome of her own battle, in physical terms at least. Victoria Amelina died in July 2023 from injuries sustained in a Russian missile strike on civilian targets in Kramatorsk, Donetsk Oblast. The book I just quoted was published after her death. It is itself a testimony to the fact that the pursuit of justice is an individual choice, but always a collective endeavor. Dear students and young diplomats, the key to lasting peace is law. Amelina knew this. As a lawyer myself, that is what the European Union has always meant to me, the idea that international law, not violence, should govern the fate of countries and their people. I'm not here to give you a lecture on the law. You have professors that do this far better than I could. But let me put this into a context. International law is a broad area. Typically, it governs relations between the states and the international organizations. It encompasses treaties, trade, diplomacy, human rights, environmental law, maritime law, and such. International law, writ large, is enforced mostly by state consent, international courts, or diplomatic pressure. It is at the heart of free trade and resolving disputes. Under the umbrella of international law is international criminal law. Here we are talking not about the states, but about people. Individual accountability for decisions and actions related to the most serious crimes one could imagine. Genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes of aggression. With aggression, what we are talking about is leadership crimes. Those who can commit such atrocities are those with the power to do so, heads of state of government, senior military or political leaders. Arguably, these are the root of all other war crimes, because without the decision to attack another country, followed up by troop deployments, most other war crimes could not take place. The other categories of crimes under international criminal law target foot soldiers and middle-level commanders. To build a war crimes case against them requires evidence. This needs to be gathered in a way that is admissible in the court of law. You must follow specific protocols, uncover every aspect of an allegation, and document them in a specific way. And this is where Victoria Amelina comes in. Amelina, together with hundreds of others in Ukraine, carried out these investigations with vigor. She did this knowing that it might not amount to anything. The outcome of the war was unclear at the time of her death, and it's still unclear today. But she did this in an effort to make the future a better place than her present. In Syria, long before the fall of the Assad regime, the EU was also supporting individuals collecting evidence of the regime's atrocities, including proof of torture and other crimes committed in the infamous Tirana prison. And I want to pay a tribute to your rector and my predecessor, Federica Mogherini, who personally was behind these accountability efforts. Whether we are talking about Ukraine, Gaza, or Syria, the essence of the international law is always its universal nature. Accountability cannot be selective, or the entire system is in question. And we cannot afford to let this happen, because the ultimate power of the law is simple. It is always a chance for progress. Today's assignment, if I may, I think we owe it to Amelina, is this: what can you do to make our future a better place than the present? I will give you some ideas by way of 5 observations. First, the relationship between the international law and power politics is a tense tango. At times, norms and strategic realities align, but just as often they clash. Sometimes the law puts the brakes on power, and sometimes power violently bends the law. In the case of Amelina's Ukraine, if the law had worked, a permanent member of the UN Security Council would not have, or could not have, invaded its neighbor. It is against all international law norms, including the UN Charter. Consider how keenly some states are watching how the world behaves with Ukraine's struggle. Since we know that violating the law without accountability tends to encourage others to do the same, this contagious effect is already reason to stand up for the law, even if your rights are not currently being violated. The vast majority of countries are also small or medium-sized, and for them, international law is the only guarantor of peaceful existence, a refuge from the world where might makes right. On a personal note, I have my own experience in the outright abuse of the law. Last February, while I was still serving as Estonia's Prime Minister, I was the first head of government to be put on Russia's internal ministry's wanted list. Russia has always veiled its political repression behind the so-called law enforcement agencies. Second, international law is a human construct, not the principle of physics. As Friedrich Hayek wrote, complex social systems emerge organically from individual actions, not central planning. Instead of reverting to the traditional counter-argument that there is no legal basis for X, Y, and Z, we can create those bases. For instance, the idea of the London Charter, which ultimately led to the Nuremberg tribunals after the Second World War, first came to light as early as 1942. The war raged on with no end in sight. When I was practicing law, I wasn't paid to say, no, we can't do. I was paid for solutions. International law is not perfect and does not solve all problems, but without it, we would sink into anarchy. So we need to develop it further. And this brings me to my third observation. We can and we do come up with solutions if we choose to. The most recent example is the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. The International Criminal Court has the power to open formal investigation on war crimes, and if the evidence supports it and the judges authorize it, it can indict and prosecute. But there is a gap. It does not have a jurisdiction to prosecute the crime of aggression, leadership crimes. And so the idea of a special court was born. After a lot of work, it is now almost operational. When I was in Kiev 2 weeks ago, I announced €10 million of support to get the court up and running as soon as possible. Which brings me to my fourth observation. As the ICC's register said at the Bled Security Forum, where I was in this summer, international law has never been more developed, more codified, and more accessible. There are encouraging signs that the international law is growing. One example is the new special tribunal I just described. Another is that of the growing number of parties to the International Criminal Court. Now it stands at 125 states from all regions of the world, with the recent accession of Armenia and Ukraine. Yet another example came 3 weeks ago when the UN Human Rights Council decided to set up an independent investigation to gather evidence on allegations of human rights violations in Afghanistan. But eclipsing this positive news is a fifth observation, the dangerous paradox we face today. A broad assault is going on against the international legal order, human rights, internationally agreed norms, and the institutions we have established to enforce them. This includes the International Criminal Court, the ICC, which holds the perpetrators of the world's gravest crimes to account and gives victims a voice. The European Union has a long and robust policy of support of the ICC. I quote from the relevant Council conclusion. The EU's policy on the ICC is to advance universal support for the court, ensure its independence, and counter threats to its effective functioning. On selective application, the EU has its flaws too. One member state has announced its intention to withdraw from the ICC, but all member states are legally bound by the decisions that are adopted by the Council, including the decision in support of the ICC and including in the case of a withdrawal. At the highest level, we have made our stance known. Just last June, the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, called the ICC a cornerstone of international justice, while European Commission President von der Leyen reaffirmed the EU's full support for the ICC and its officials. In Brussels, we are currently looking at all available options, including specific mitigating measures, for how we can make this support count for the ICC in its time of struggle. Dear students and young diplomats, whenever I travel around the world for my work, I make it a point to sit down with young people. I do this to hear your opinions, your views, and pass some of my own, because the world will soon be in your hands. In many ways, it already is, if you look at the power of Gen Z demonstrations around the world, at the influence of social media, or at the fact that yours is the generation of digital natives. You did not start your life analog like I did. So back to the question, what can you do to make our future a better place than the present? From the observations I share with you, I would derive the following ideas of action. First, take an active stand in defense of international law in general and the ICC in particular. Second, develop the law further. It is in your hands to do so. And third, be creative, innovative, and responsive to new situations that rise. You can all be truth hounds like Amelina. I'm also thinking of examples like the small group of friends who investigated the global diamond trade. Their work, which gave us the term blood diamond, led to the Kimberley process and produced a UN resolution recognizing the role of diamonds in fueling conflict. You have the benefit of good education, including from here, from the College of Europe. So use it. Define your aim, find allies, and make it happen. Or, to quote Taylor Swift, pledge allegiance to your hands, your team, your vibes. In the final chapter of her life, Victoria Amelina turned away from prose to poetry. This was not planned, she said, but compelled by the war. She commented that the reality of war eats up punctuation, the coherence of a subject. You, dear students and young diplomats, you still have your punctuation. So I advise a liberal use of a question mark and exclamation point. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaja. This was, I think, an impressive keynote speech. By the way, I think we added a couple of first times events during this ceremony. I mentioned a few ones at the very beginning. I think it's the first time Taylor Swift is quoted, and I love it. And I also think it's the first time that some students turn a speech pronounced in the European Parliament into a song. So we are getting pop here, and I think it's it's one of the beauties of the college and of the European Union to be able to adapt and be creative. I would really like to thank you, Kaja, for this speech that I think help us all. Well, first of all, will make the colleagues, the faculty in the law and the IRD department, I think, enthusiastic. I couldn't stop thinking of some of our professors during your speech, and I guess our students had the same reaction. But also, I would like to thank you for having highlighted some of the things that you mentioned. One is, of course, the key role of international law. Every time that I was not planning to do this, but I was inspired by your speech, so you allow me to share an anecdote. Every time that I'm asked, now in my capacity being completely free from representing a formal position, but still, every time that interlocutors from different countries ask me outside of Europe, why is it so that for you Europeans, the war against Ukraine is so special? Is it because it's in Europe? And I always say exactly what you mentioned. No, it's because, well, it's also a shock, of course, but it's also, and it's primarily because this is the first case of a permanent member of the Security Council who is supposed to protect peace and security on the base of international law that violates it so blatantly in all different aspects. This is what makes it so different than all the other wars that, of course, we also have a responsibility to try and finish. But this is what makes it so different than all the rest. Exactly this, that those who are, in theory, the guardians of international law are violating it. So thank you for highlighting this. Thank you also for passing a message to our students that I think is extremely valuable, and I would underline it, and please keep it with you. Two things. One is that whenever there is a will in the European Union, there is a way, and things can be created. And the other message that I really want to share and to support and to make mine is your invitation to use the power of knowledge that you have. You have already an enormous access to knowledge, to skills, to a network that is extremely powerful through your studies, but also here at the College of Europe. You will have it more and more as the months will pass, and you will survive the different sessions of exams and the different deadlines, and you will grow stronger in this. But the most important thing is not the knowledge you acquire. The most important thing is the use you make of it. And really, let me make mine your invitation. Remember that knowledge is power, but power is nothing if you don't use it. So always have the courage to use the power you have to make changes. Inside the European Union, in the world, in your community, wherever you are, you will have an enormous power. It's useless if you don't use it, so keep that in mind. With that, my duty now is to duty and pleasure, to thank once again you, Kaja, for not only being here, but also delivering a wonderful message to our community. I would like to thank all those that have made this ceremony possible. I would like to thank our president and our mayor for being here and for welcoming us with such warm words. I would like to thank the diplomats and the officials of the European Union Diplomatic Academy and the Enlargement Program and the Diplomatic Program for the Enlargement Region for being here with us and also for sharing their thoughts. And I would like to thank all of the students for the presence here. In particular, the student reps that have taken on their shoulders a very important role, and I'm very pleased that we are able to work together to improve the college community every step. And I would like to have a special thank you for those of you who have performed music and all those of you who have delivered speeches. I know it's not easy. But you've done it wonderfully well. I'm always very proud to hear our students delivering speeches because, you know, this is really using the power you have through knowledge in a positive way. So thank you for all your messages. Thank you for all your commitment. And it is now, again, my pleasure to officially declare the academic year opened, even if it's already 1.5 months you're studying. Now it's the moment when it's officially declared open, and to invite on stage our choir for the Ode to Joy. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the academic year.